All right, what's going on, everyone? Supreme Kami over here. So we are going to be taking a look at Hoshina Fumina's units over here, the Star Winning Gundam over here. So they have finally decided to drop one of the protagonist suit over here. So you have the Tri-Burning Gundam already. So right now we are just missing the Lightning Gundam full Burnier. So I expect that one to come out as maybe a Super Sokai later down the road. This one is going to be coming out as a as a build project. So this unit over here is actually a special one, just like how Fumina actually built it in the actual anime. It has a lot of good gimmicks, but not in the terms of the custom or any of the EX skills. I think the EX skills, what is offered in game, is actually a little bit more lackluster than I would have thought. There's not gonna be your winning beam because I think that one is tied down to her activating the real mode, which we're not getting any of that in game over here. So that is a little bit unfortunate. Not even in the form of like a EX skill base over here. So yeah, it's pretty disappointing. You don't even get any of like your funnels. I think she just had tons of like surprises when she was using it in anime, but in game it's pretty straight cut, pretty simple and all that. No extra like gimmicky stuff. But I will say the overall gimmick of this unit is gonna be how much of a dual type build unit this one is gonna be at over here. In terms of the war type, we can just kind of start things off with you have Gundam type, support type, and then transformer. So all those word tags combined if possible when you guys are building this one. Let's say hypothetically you have all the parts right here. You should be looking at a slightly higher shot attack than melee. But once we take a look at the overall stat, you guys will be surprised how much in similarity they are. So let's actually get started over here without further ado into the head first over here. In terms of the head, let's start out with some word tags over here. You got Gundam type and Transformer. So this is, in terms of some of these word tag combos over here, it's going to be a little bit more of a hectic towards their picky over here because obviously their intention of this build is for you to be building it out as a purely dual type build. So I want to guesstimate that right now what I have seen so far in terms of like the highest dual stat. I think it's around 70k. So my expectation for this unit, if anyone is able to get this to fully level 99, I maybe spitballing it at around 75,000 to maybe 80,000. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit too far-fetched, a little bit of a higher than what it's supposed to be, but that is my guesstimation because I do see like Excel sheet is up right now. But you guys can just kind of take a look at in terms of the shot department, everything is ranked number 2 throughout the board except for the machine gun category. We're ranking those by this specific category. If you're purely talking about the highest shot attack in terms of like your ranged weapon, that is gonna go down to the Jig Arch Gundam, obviously. But other than that, like everything is within the top 10, which is crazy. Like you will never see a unit like this ever again. I will have to assume because like the word tag is actually supporting that as well. So that is the other crazy part as well. So stat is gonna be as follow right there, so you guys can just kind of take a look at it right there. So in terms of the portrait wise over here, the first portrait is screaming specifically for like a melee based EX skill. So star shooting EX skill may be taking a little bit less damage dealing to enemy because of this portrait or over here. But one good thing is they went for the idea of having EX skill power boosting instead of, let's say, one EX skill and then one melee or shooting, because that will probably lower your what is the potential power output of this guy over here. Let's say potentially you have the full set, right? I think ideally, or you can say, how come, or maybe I can even try to put this into like to maybe like a actual full-on shooter build. I mean, you actually can, but I'm pretty sure with the amount of like, let's say, subslot purposes, like if you have the subslot, right, I think you're gonna take a lot away from what you guys can actually benefit from it. Because let's say ideally you don't want transformer for your shooting build, you will rather have like ace exclusive, let's say commander. I think it would be extremely hard trying to filter that into those that specific manner, because I feel like this overall kit right here is not really built for that, for example. And maybe you can, like, there's definitely no stopping from like building this into like a fully melee or shooting. I just think if you're doing that, you will have a significantly lower stats than when it's intended to be, right? um the head is top tier, just no doubt about that, but it's gonna be a little bit hard, just because you are gonna be limited to some just purely I would say some melee attack. I think that will be a little bit more outshine. But as we go on a little bit, you will see that they actually do balancing out just a little bit better. Moving on to the chest over here, the chest is 6k across the board. That is crazy. It's gonna be rank 5 for the melee and rank 2 for the shooting. So, oh my gosh, like I can't believe they can actually do this. This is like, I would call this right here illegal. Like how? Like how can you build unit that supports both department with ease? Like how? This one's gonna have your support type over here. So this part specifically, I would say that people who are gonna be grinding for that specific arena mode, the physical resistant mode, man, this is gonna be an excellent part because if you guys see the portrait or the war tags over here, 5% physical resistant boosting and then 10%. So this one I feel like is a part that a lot of those top tier players is eyeballing it right now. Me personally, I might try to get this because this one is another one of your 40% traits, so I can't really say no to that by all means right here. So this one, in terms of some restriction, we gotta be talking about that right here. First and foremost, you have to be using a machine gun category equipped ranged weapon. So you better hope that your other 8 parts synergize this exactly, meaning that your other 8 part trait does not want you to be using, let's say, dual rifle or just rifle in general. So make sure that you don't have those kind of overlap. If that happens, one of your part trait will not activate in that manners. Second, portrait wise, it is gonna be extremely restricted over here, just using like a tech attribute. I feel like this one would not really expand its longevity wise. I would rather have this one being locked down to like a specific vortex. I feel like that can be a little bit more lenient wise, because with vortex you can definitely put this on like any build, no problem. Like your P build and S build, no problem. But I feel like just restricting it to like a tech attribute it's gonna hurt it by just a tad right here, which I don't know. I don't really like that, but by all means I can kind of do that, no problem I guess. But this one is gonna be slightly boosting like your shooting EXQ wise a little bit. So melee will suffer slightly on this banner over here. I think throughout, I think this unit over here actually, on paper it's like dual type build, but in terms of like the war tag, what you're trying to do, I feel like they could have went for like a more evenly like or high firepower. I feel like if they would have throw in like a high firepower instead of Gundam type, would definitely make this unit a lot more better. Because high firepower actually boosts both melee and shooting, so they could have definitely went for that direction. But they're not Gundam type for it for whatever reason. I don't know. But definitely solid part right here, 40% trait, but the restriction is something that is going to be based on players to players, because some player may be using machine gun and tech attribute at the same time. So that is definitely a top tier recommendation, but if you guys cannot fulfill the requirement, it is going to be a little bit of a waste, but moving on to the arm now. In terms of the arm, what we are looking at so far, like look at look at that melee attack, 11,800. Are you kidding me? This is not even meant to be like a exclusively a melee unit, but you get offered 11,800. And look at that shot attack. What is that? 6k across the board again. Like, oh my gosh, like this is absurd. In terms of this one, what we were looking at over here, so they're boosting another shooting power again, and this time around they are asking you to use like machine gun category again. So I would say that is going to be your restriction right there as well. In terms of the arm, this is one of those portrait that's you're gonna do a little bit more power to whatever output you're doing, and you're gonna be also reducing your enemy power over here, which I don't like these over here. You guys know me, I pretty like offensive value, portrait. But by any means, if anyone wants to be doing like a 100% enemy power reduction build, this one may be a part that you want to be adding onto your list. Just because this one is going to be a dual type build, so it might be a little bit more can set adjust a little bit better. Low battery, but on top of that, I feel like the downside when people are looking at this is going to be the word tag wise. Gundam type and support type is definitely not something we've seen at all in terms of like a build project unit. So I feel like many people would probably get turned down by that. But the role in this unit it definitely suits it because Winning Gundam, like the whole character of like Fumina, she wants to be like that supporting character in the team, but later when she's fighting against the Lady Kawaji, she told Fumina that you cannot just solely support your ally, you have to be kind of doing your own stuff as well. So I guess that's why they still continue to carry out that support type for her solely. I feel like it fits her theme, but you know, in terms of what we're talking about in game context, it's not gonna work too well. But if you're purely following that enemy, you know, it's complicated, right? Like they try to make these kind of build like suiting to the actual pilot. You know, sometimes they really do that, but in game wise, it's like, come on, man, it's not working. So I think a lot of people may get turned out by having like a supporting type right here, but I mean, by all means, you still get 5% shot attack, so there's not really much to complain about that. Maybe your shooting or your melee is suffering by a landslide. And even talking about shooting, these vortex are not even the premium ones because the one you should be using for any shooter build should be ace exclusive for sure, and then probably commander type if possible. So those are going to be just 10% more than what you can do over here. But the whole idea of this build, like I'm gonna mention again, is a dual type build. So if you guys purely do want to do like a solely on that one typing, can result in a negative I don't know, like just not good overall. I don't know. That's that, right? But you know, I don't like these over here just in general, but if you guys do like that, by all means go for it. In terms of leg wise over here, continuing across, this one is going to be a tad lower in terms of leg wise. I guess leg wise has not really gone up to that 6,000 digit. I'm pretty sure they should be, right? Maybe? I think some legs have gone to the 6,000 barrier already, so this one coming along that 5,000, mid 5,000 is actually pretty good already. In terms of the party over here, this is actually excellent. So this is going to be a double EXQ pad boosting, so both melee and shooting EXQ will get the both benefit of that. But I guess one downside you can just kind of throw that into it is going to be that back part only EXQ, which I mean we do have a back part EXQ, so that's good. And then one more thing you guys should be paying attention is they're actually dropping a double 35. Usually the first portrait is a 35, so this time around they're giving a double 35. That is crazy. Like, whew, oh man, that is just good. Another restriction you can get, just kind of say you have to be using Gundam type, so that should be it. But overall, this part right here is pretty solid for what it's trying to be doing up here. Double E skill power boosting is always better than one melee slash shooting than an E skill, so that is always going to be welcome for sure. Definitely going to be good. Whether or not you're going to use this solely for like a dual type build, but if you want to use it for like a melee build or shooting build, this is going to be a-okay as well, no problem, you know, just because of this over here. I feel like it just overall, by having Gundam type, you can, now mentioning it, you can kind of do a good sub-slot option for like your solely purely shooting base, because you do have good amount, like let's say Gundam type to ace exclusive, or maybe Gundam type to like commander, so you can definitely make something work. But I think the sub-slot carrying the parameters only can be 10.5, so you're definitely gonna be losing some. You will definitely lose out a lot, like instead of like double pairing it, like your main part and then sub-slot and it's the same part, so you might be losing out on that perspective. But I mean 10.5 compared to 30.5, right? 20% right there, so you guys can just kind of do the basic math right there, no problem. We are going to start moving on to some disappointing part, which is going to be your Mega Core boost over here. I think I briefly saw the EXT showcase and I was unimpressed by that. I think it's just lacking by a lot. Like this one being like a build project unit, like I do expect them to give us a little bit more juice in terms of like the EX skill, but I think this one is just kind of sad. But in terms of the overall stat of this guy, it's not sad at all. It's actually pretty high. Again, 5,000 across the board, so that is going to be able to stay within that longevity life for a pretty good a long while. I would have to say. In terms of like backpack wise, we don't really see anything of like the 6,000 digit yet. So I think this part will definitely age a lot. Will age better than what we already have. You know, Gundam type and Transformer again. So you know what this part is going to be good for. If you sub slot this one to the Zeta Gundam, ooh, this is gonna be good because they share the same vortex, so you can get some pretty good boosting right there. So, I might be thinking about this right now. As we're speaking of this, yeah, definitely you can do some pretty good sub slot option there. You can throw in the Sata backpack, and you can get yourself some range, some shooting power boosting. So that's gonna be good in that perspective. EXQ wise, I'm just kind of disappointed about that. Just pretty sad. And then as well as like the melee weapon right here as well. So keep this in mind, I'm purely rating this at the saber category, so I'll be looking at everything as a whole. I think the highest we have in game right now, I want to say is like around like a 22 something, like a low 22,000. I think that's what we are about. So this is just give or take like 3 to 400 less than what is the top tier. So this is already pretty good by any means right here, but unfortunately this is going to be tying down to like an EXQ base. So if you are going to be using this one purely for your, let's say, a regular day-to-day usage, you best find some sub slot that can get just kind of give you like a portrait. I think that is going to be able to allow yourself to do more power. Portrait equals more power damage dealing, alongside with like some other utility wise portrait, right? This is pretty good. The stat 11,800 is definitely good. Does not even need any of those like melee defense for transfer. Alright, so the last weapon we are going to be looking at is going to be your B machine gun over here. So it's going to be shooting at 11,911. So this is a top tier melee weapon over here for sure. But I guess the one downside you're going to be looking at, purely this is I'm rating it under the machine gun category. So if you're purely looking at everything overall, I think the highest one we have in game is a 22,000 or no, 12,700. Excuse me. That is gonna be last week's build project, not build project. Super Sokai, the Arch Jake, no, the Jake Arch Gundam. So that one's gonna be taking that first place right now. But this one does have a portrait, so let's kind of go over that as well. This one, oh, have we not seen one of these already? But that one is for your melee perspective. So yeah, there you go. So this one is purely going to be a dual type build, and this one wants you to be using it on the auto mode, which is like, I don't know, like, yeah, that's why I don't really know how I feel about having a lot of these portrait now, having like locked down to like auto mode. Like I feel like this one, I guess, is purely wanting, like now, like look at this, purely to be on that third slot option. So this is going to be your LS suit, and you're not really going to be piloting it. So that is kind of quite sad. I will have to say right here, but you are gonna be getting another shooting power boosting right here. So this is definitely screaming for a little bit of a outshine for like your shooting part. But overall, I think this unit itself, like just based on what you're looking at on paper, is good. But in terms of trying to synergize with like just your portrait and then your portrait, your vertex, I think that can be a little bit of a problematic. I think this build right here is going to be a really niche one. It really wants you to be a dual type build. It's literally doing that. And so if people are using this, let's say, I don't know, for like solely for like a shooting or melee, I think those players or this player in general will find it a hard time to just kind of get some stuff going on. You're not going to get the highest, the parameter boosting or whatnot. So that's why I think it is a little bit, it's a hard build to be looking at right here. But you are gonna be really rewarded at the end of the day. I feel like the chest is definitely the most highlighted part right here because of that 40% trait. But as these, portrait, normalized to be 40%, I think, whatever we had first in line, let's say like Helios, I think eventually they would just kind of get phased out within like the next couple of months. So I think that is just my speculation on that. As we go on, like these portraits will just get better and better with some better stats than what we have initially. So with that being said, this will be pretty much it for this alteration review. At week 5, I'll come back around and just kind of give you guys another run through, like are these parts still worth it and whatnot. So looking for that in the next 4 weeks. So with that being said, that should be pretty much it for today, and then I will catch you guys out on the next one.